Sausage.
Hello, everyone. This is Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Mark Kuznez, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about the Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Medan, a game where you play as a bunch of rich kids trying to find buried treasure because, despite being rich, they're not rich enough to pay for all the plastic surgery it would take to make Julie go from hideous monster to the Madame of Madame Girl. You fine. But then some pirates show up despite being nowhere near Pittsburgh, followed by a Carl Urbanless ghost ship you'll want to Gabriel burn to the ground by the time the game ends, and a ghost who really wants to get into Shawn Ashmore's pants because only Iceman could relate to her cold dead corpse. One of the fun things about horror movies, at least certain kinds of horror movies, is being introduced to a cast of characters you hate so you can enjoy watching them die one after another as the movie goes on. Bodies, or as Chad Warden likes to call it, that body's triple, yo, is a recent example of this, though for my money, they don't die fast enough in that movie, not to mention one of the pieces of crap survives in the end because of course she would, despite the fact she considers Pete Davidson her best friend and that poor judgment alone should have damned her from the start, but I digress. There is fun to be found in watching terrible characters get what's coming to them, but as soon as you go from passive viewer to active participant, that no longer works, and that's one of Man of Medan's greatest faults. Not a single character in Man of Medan is likable. Conrad is a cocky piece of shit, Brad gives cowards a bad name, Julia is a fucking monster, more on that later, Alex is an idiot who thinks popping the question while scuba diving just after you almost died is a good idea, and Bliss, who gives a shish. Every single character sucks, including the eventual bad guys, and all do stupid things and make stupid decisions, ones out of your control, that make the typical stupid horror decisions genius in comparison. Do they make for characters you want to see die in ridiculous ways? Yes, but when you have to control them and care for their well-being, everything crumbles because if you lean into making them die, there's no longer a game. And if there's no longer a game, why are you playing? And if a game has you asking that, we have a problem. Adding to that problem is the fact that the ghost story, the scares, the kills/deaths, the setting, just aren't that good. The backstory of the ship, which serves as a tutorial and a pretty decent way of doing a tutorial to give the game some praise, isn't fun or interesting or anything other than completely and wholly unimaginative, which then makes it not the most engaging of locations to spend the bulk of your time in. And when it comes to the deaths, they're all pretty boring. In the end, I had two main characters die and all of the bad guys die. One of the bad guys died by getting stabbed by another bad guy, whoop-de-fucking-do. Shawn Ashmore's character Conrad died when I selected jump from a tall height as he was being chased by thirsty grandma ghosts, which led him to fall backwards on his head because that's exactly what I wanted him to do. The bad guy who stabbed the other bad guy got severed in half by a closing door, and then the only thing that got me to laughter in my entire playthrough was when bad guy number 3 was freaking out about hallucinating gas while Alex and Fliss tried talking him down, only to end with bad guy number 3 shooting Alex in the head after Alex told them there was no gas one too many times before shooting himself in the head. The escalation from, dude, there's no gas, to headshot was so surprising to me that I couldn't help but audibly laugh at the ridiculousness of the whole thing. But that was the only time I enjoyed myself while playing, and to even say I enjoyed that part would be a bit of a stretch. I just thought it was funny. What's not funny is Julie and her fucked up face. While ghosts exist in this story, the true monster is Julie and how fucking creepy she looks with a fucked up face, fucked up expressions, and seriously fucked up teeth. It's only when she's underwater and her mouth is shut that I don't want to run screaming in the other direction. But it's not just a Julie problem. Most of the characters have a weirdness to them, especially the two white ones, and range from emotionalist to I have to take a massive shit to what the fuck is going on with your neck, bro, and everything in between except for normalcy. Admittedly, for the most part, and by most part I mean everything not involving Julie, doesn't take much away and would be easily acceptable if the rest of the game was smooth sailing, the reality of Man of Medan's mundanity makes the weird uncanny nature of everything stick out more than it otherwise might. But seriously, fuck Julie, she's terrifying, and I just remembered I had a second laugh when she died after the credits because I had her surface too fast after she and Alex went diving at the very beginning of the game, and I guess the decompression sickness was patiently waiting until they survived the whole ghost shit thing to be like, actually, coming in at only 3.5 hours, I'm happy at least the nightmare didn't waste too much of my time, but it also felt incredibly truncated and just kind of ended when it ended. Now, it should be noted I played the game entirely solo, and there is a multiplayer component that could make it more enjoyable, but I can't personally speak to that, so all I can really say is your mileage may vary. While Man of Medan left me disappointed, I still like the general idea of games like this and did enjoy Until Dawn, so I'm not giving up on the Dark Pictures Anthology just yet, but I will say after playing Man of Medan, I only have a little hope in what's next. Anyway, that will do it for this here episode of Attack the Backlog. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can go over to patreon.com/PXS to support me and my nonsense that way. But in addition to the Patreon, if you'd also like links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more, you can find all of that over at pxsausage.com. That is again pxsausage.com. But that will do it for this here episode. Once again, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have both a wonderful rest of your day and a lovely rest of your week/weekend, wherever you're listening to this, and so on and so forth. But for now, adios, arrivederci, bye, or should I say boo?